Hello and welcome to another episode of Arsenal Above All, the post North London derby reaction. It's not often I'm glad that we've kind of escaped with a draw from a North London derby. Normally want to obviously turn them over, but when the final whistle went today, I was pretty glad to get that one crossed off and move on. And obviously, the next game will be against Brentford. I've got a debutant with me tonight, Malcolm, or also known as Mac, to join me tonight, and also a familiar face, Stephen Osakwe. They call me Stepney. We'll be talking about today's game, and we've got lots to talk about. Lots have happened, and why we think all that happened. But before all of that, let's go. Good evening and welcome to another show. Joining me tonight, as I mentioned earlier, I have Malcolm Ackah, also known as Mac. How are you doing, Mac?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. We've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, making your debut tonight, getting your first cap. So thanks for joining.
I'm excited. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, it was great to bump into you. It's a long story, but we met at a paddling pool. A kid's paddling pool, even more weirder. So it's not that weird, people. So, but we'll probably talk about it later. But it was good to meet you. Good to talk while the kids were having fun and making lots of noise and stuff. And it's always good to find a fellow Gooner.
Yeah,
and a sensible one as well. There's not many of them about, but we've got another one here below, as you can see. Stephen Osakwe, how you doing, Steve?
Yeah, all good, Mike. All good. Lots to talk about, but all good.
Yep, indeed. Obviously, first North London derby of the season. Finished a couple of hours ago. Finished 2-2. Typical roller coaster game for the neutral to enjoy, not for if you're of Arsenal or Tottenham persuasion. But I'll start with you first, Mac. We'll start with the lineup really, because again, I think that's something that always causes lots of head scratching and chin stroking when it comes out. What was your thoughts on that? I mean, looking back on hindsight, obviously is always great. But what was your thoughts at when it dropped? Were you surprised? I mean, I was surprised to see Eddie and Jesus up front. I thought there were rumours about Trossard being out injured, and it sadly came true. But what was your thoughts on the lineup? Did you think it was a bit strange, or?
Well, look, I think it's to do with the situation. Obviously, we would want Martinelli, but he's injured. And then Trossard got injured. And Trossard, I'll tell you what a difference he would have made today. Clinical goal scorer. He's one of only two people, I would say, maybe three, who would score week in, week out. And he wasn't playing. So my heart sank when I saw that. Eddie, we know what his situation is. Has a good game, has 3 bad games. What can you do about that? I thought Fabio Vieira, problem with him is that he's been great off the bench, but when he's playing a full match, he just struggled with the physicality of the game. But again, it's needs must. If you've got injuries, you got to play what you got, right? And we've obviously Arteta's always talking about having people who are equally measured. Well, obviously that's tricky. So that's my thought on it. I thought it's odd to have Eddie and all these other people, but at the same time, you got to deal with what you've got, right? Because these are not the people who would start normally. Normally, either be Trossard or Martinelli has been incredible. Always a first half incredible, but that's not the way it went.
Yeah, I agree with that, because with people like Vieira, Steve, he kind of goes through phases when he plays a game, and it's more he kind of goes not missing, but doesn't influence the game more than he does, sort of thing. Whereas Odegaard's sort of like the other way around, where he influences the games a lot more than when he doesn't. Whereas, but strangely for Odegaard, that was one of those games today. I think the second half he just didn't influence the game as much as we would have liked to. But what does it say when you have someone like ESR and you have Reece Nelson, who a lot of people, like Max said, with Martinelli and Trossard, you would assume that they will be the next in line, especially Nelson, that he's had more minutes. But what does it kind of say to those guys that they still can't get a start, in that position, in the position that they've performed, they produced, in when they've played there, especially ESR, obviously going back a couple of seasons now, but especially someone like Nelson.
It's a difficult one because I think I've had time to think about it, Mike, to be honest with you. It's a difficult one because on one hand, we want players like Nelson to start because they're exciting. When Nelson's come on this season, he's been exciting, he's been positive, and you'd think he'd be first to start on that left-hand side. I do kind of feel that maybe, just maybe, Arteta is still being cautious with injuries and not going, right, I'm going to start you straight away. That's possibly the only reason for it. Otherwise, it didn't make sense. If he's fit and he's raring to go and he's good to play 70, 80 minutes or whatever, then he should have started. I think everybody looked at that team sheet and went, he's shifting Jesus out to the left and sticking Eddie up front. It was a risk. We know Jesus is a good dribbler. We know that he's going to work hard on that wing as well. But it was a risk. I suppose he wanted more of a goal threat with Jesus there. It's a difficult one. But personally, if Nelson is ready, then he should have been playing. He should have been starting. He should have just had Jesus up front because that gives us the option to bring on Eddie when it's 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, and you may possibly need another goal or somebody to chase down some balls and stuff like that. With starting both of them, you just sort of limit your options coming off the bench, and then looking at the bench, you go, okay, we look quite short. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Bro.
Yeah, I just think though, we've got so many games coming up, and we know that the fitness of Reece Nelson would come into question in this because there's obviously been a massive layoff, and same for Smith Rowe. Obviously, we've got Champions League, obviously the other domestic cups coming up. So I get where everyone's coming from, and it's emotional, and it's North London derby. But we are in a different space to what we were in last year. Everything's important to us, and thank God it's the start of the season, right?
Yeah. It's 6 games in. People are obviously writing off the title or give the title over to City already. They're obviously perfect at the moment. But yeah, I mean, as you're saying with the two that we were talking about, the 2 strikers. It could have been also different, right? They had those big chances. Well, the chance that Jesus had, which from Saka's cross, which the keeper done well to palm out, and then the opportunity that fell to Eddie when he kind of I think it's weird. He took the wrong sort of selection. He should have just laced it across the keeper, but he side-footed it. And he also kind of had Vieira. Maybe half a second later, he would have been open for a pass, but when you look at it on the replay, it looks like, he should have squared it to him. What do you think went wrong today, Mac, in terms of just the performance? Was it the fallout from Wednesday? Was it the emotional high that we reached? Obviously, just going back to that, even just going down the line when the Champions League music is playing, you look at the players' faces and you see someone like Rice, his face at the end of it. Yeah. Was it the emotional high of that? Did that have a part to play? Was it the cautiousness of it's a North London derby? Tottenham are looking maybe different this year, and just a bit of caginess, a little bit of chess. Was it overconfidence? Was it just a little bit overconfidence in certain parts, especially when we went 1-0 up, and the big chance that fell to Jesus? What was your take on that first half and why it kind of was a little bit like played out like it did?
Well, there's a few things. So I looked at the comments. I thought I'd look at it of Arteta after the game, and he even said something about people getting hyped up. He said playing in front of this crowd in a derby doesn't get much better than that. And I think the players were so excited, but sometimes you'd be too hyped because then we lacked some composure to on the ball to get more control. Then he goes on about the draw. And this is our biggest issue. Now, last season, no one thought we could do anything, right? We just went about our business and carried on, just quietly winning game after game after game, right? This season, the emotion, everyone almost like an entitled, like we are supposed to win every game. And that's the feeling I feel like is that every time, like the Man United game, fine, that was emotional. But I feel like every time we're ahead now, it's almost like we can't be beaten when we can. You got to go about your business like a task, no emotion. There's too much running around, too much jumping around.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but you cannot have a situation straight after you've gone 2-1 up where it's Jorginho makes a mistake, fine, but it's 2 against 1. I mean,
Yeah,
how's that possible? Why are you
yeah,
not all back? It's
I'm glad
madness.
I'm glad you said that because I think it was Gabriel was over to the left and he was like almost on the touchline, so he couldn't make it back. And I was thinking, why is it so open? It's almost like we've not tried to manage the game. But no, yeah, sorry, I jumped in. But
No. I'm happy. I'm interested in your thoughts because I still don't understand how you can get 2v1 straight after kickoff.
Yeah.
You're 2-1 up in a game which is against a team which are kamikaze. They're just going to go. They don't have no fear. Almost like the Leeds of Bielsa, that kind of team. That we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep. How can you not have everyone back? What are you doing? I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts on that before I go.
I think that's why they were a bit dangerous today because it was almost like it was a free hit. Obviously, they've got a new manager coming in. They've had a good start to the season, so even if they lost today, it would have been the end of the world as it usually is with them. But it was almost like a free hit for them. And when Saka scored, you're probably listening to commentary as well. Gary Neville was saying celebrations are really big celebrations here for Arsenal. There's loads of time left, and then it cut to them still celebrating. And Eddie Nketiah was pointing at his temples to say to the guys, "Look, focus." And they weren't listening to him, but he was like, even he acknowledged it. It's like, okay, look, we need to focus because and it's almost like now that's what we used to at the Emirates. It's just like an emotional sort of cauldron now, where you got the song at the beginning, you got North London Forever at the beginning, gets everyone getting the tissues out and stuff like that, and then they're so emotionally swept up in it, and then we're always in this sort of basketball game at some point of a match, where we're hanging on at the seat of our pants and we're expecting it to be a last. Again, we're all thinking, oh, who's it going to be this time? Is it going to be Reece Nelson going to get a last-minute goal again? Is it going to be Gabriel? Because after what's the narrative here? Is it going to be him because of the start of the season he's had? Is it going to be Eddie because he's had an absolute shocker and he's going to come up and get the winner? It boils down to game management, and I think a lot of the way it all transpired, I think a lot of it you've got to lay at Arteta, because I just think the lineup and the substitutions just weren't the right ones. I think Eddie should have been dragged. I think Jesus should have been up front. He should have brought Nelson on for Eddie to have that outlet and just to let him run at Porro, keep him back, because he was just confident. He was just going up all the time. So I just think he had fingerprints on it as well. I think you get some instances where a team plays badly or playing badly, and a manager will make a decision and he gets the team out of jail and they win the game, and vice versa. The manager has a bit of a shocker, and some player gets some magic from somewhere, some inspiration, and pulls the team and the manager out of jail, gets a win, and it's down to that individuality. And today you were just hoping for one of them to happen, and it didn't. And I think that was a disappointment, really. What was your thoughts on it, Steve, in terms of just the whole emotional side of it, and just the way we just seem to lack the game management again? Again, it's something that Arteta said afterwards: managing the game, being too emotional. And again, it just seems to be something that it's funny. The Champions League game where we won 4-0, even though it looked 4-0, but there were instances in that game where, you know, if PSV had maybe someone else up top, they might have caused us some problems. But what was your thoughts on just how that all played out?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, look, the whole thing with emotions, it's worse for us at home than it is away.
Yeah.
That's why we have a better away record in terms of conceding less goals and everything as well. It's managing that. We want the Emirates to be as loud and as behind the team as possible, and that's what they're doing. They're doing their part. It's then down to the players and the manager to make sure that they are focused and that they are keeping things in check. Yes, celebrate your goals. You know, the celebration police will be out anyway. It doesn't matter. So, you know, you celebrate how you like, but you've also got to remember, you've got to switch back on. You can't just go, oh, okay, yeah, you know, we've taken the lead. And we've done it too many times over the past couple of seasons, especially at home, which is just like the most bizarre thing where you've got the most support and everything to sort of say to you, okay, we need to focus and get back in to our game mode and see out this game. I think it makes it worse when it's results like this, like today. You know, we've taken the lead, was dominant in that first 35 minutes. And then after that, we were not that team. You know, we were not that team. The penalty didn't go. The penalty was 50-50 whether it went our way or not. You know, it's a harsh one. I won't lie. If we didn't get it, you can sort of go, okay, it's another decision against us. But it's a tough one. You know, it was a tough one. But we've got luck at the penalty, and then you just have to focus. It's the North London derby. It's the one that, you know, that is. It goes either way very, very quickly. Unlike most games, it's the one that can turn from being, you know, a joyous occasion to a very frustrating and then hanging on sort of occasion. And we just didn't manage that. And then, you know, was it less than a minute and 30 seconds or something like that? And they scored.
It was madness.
That's not the standards that we set. So, like Max said, yes, we were expecting to win. There's a bit of overconfidence there and everything like that. And there's that whole expectation of us just winning and winning and winning. And once we go ahead, people think, okay, yeah, we've gone ahead and we should be able to win this now and blah, blah, blah. You need to win the game, innit? You need to win the game. You need to do your jobs. You need to make sure that everybody is doing their part. And I know you mentioned Odegaard a little bit earlier. I think his pressing game kind of stopped after he got booked. I don't think he was pressing down as much. Yeah, it was. It's a silly booking, but yeah, we didn't see his usual, like in the Champions League, for example. To the very last minute, he was still pressing, and today, I think pretty much after that card, I think he just sort of dropped off a bit of the press, and
he did do a lot before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's such a great one.
Yeah, I think for me again, you know, after we go 1-0 up and we've got them on the back foot, we go through. We have that period where we have the big chance where we press again, and it's led by Odegaard and Jesus, that robs Maddison, and yeah, I mean, I love Jesus as a player. I love what he's done and how he's brought the levels up and the tenacity he shows. But we all know he's not clinical enough, and this is a perfect opportunity to demonstrate that, because I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to take the lever off the ball. I don't know why he's trying to do that, because he knows the keeper's out of position. So he's got if he slots it to his right, you can see on the replay, he's got loads of chances there. You know, I'm talking. You know, I scored loads of goals at amateur days. You know, I was a gangster striker. I won doubles for my teams and everything. So I know what I'm talking about. So listen, so bear with me. So, all it is, I don't understand why he's trying to finish like that. He's not trying to get past a crowd of players. He hasn't got anyone lying down in front of him or coming into a tackle, so he's got to lift it. All he has to do is slot that, and it's just, for me, it's like when the game seems to be going in our favour, swinging in our favour, he tends to try and put a little bit of a cherry on the top of the cake when it doesn't need to be. You know, he scored an amazing goal last on Wednesday. You know, great control and everything like that. You know, fantastic technique. But it reminded me of the last couple of games in the running where we played Liverpool, we played West Ham, and he just started to over-egg things. He started to do things that he didn't need to do. We were winning those games. You know, and it's like, I just think that's, you know, it's a massive miss. 2-0, it would have changed the game. Probably would have knocked the stuffing out of them. But again, I think it taps into the kind of overconfidence and maybe just the loss of focus a little bit. Because after that miss, I think that's when they got a second win and they started targeting Kulusevski over on their right hand side. It's like it took Ange Postecoglou half an hour to realise, you know what, we should start putting the balls in behind Zinchenko because he's a bit of a liability on that side.
Yeah.
But what was your thoughts? Do you think that's where the game kind of swung a little bit back in their favour? Because after that, we were just like, you know, obviously Raya made that save. And then there was just a couple of chances, even a goal. We could have cleared it 2 or 3 times, and we were just all over the place. But what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, listen, I think there's a couple of things to say. First of all, I think Raya was amazing. I think Raya was incredible. I think he had a great game. The people in front of him didn't cover him, and obviously he made some crucial saves, but he had a great game. Obviously, conceding 2, there were difficult ones to not concede, to be honest, under the pressure. I mean, the second goal was ridiculous. There was three of them round or something like that, and there's just like a little tap in it. It was ridiculous.
It's bad. It's bad.
I just don't get it. But going back to Jesus, as you're just talking about there, going back to Jesus, let's look at what he did for Man City. Man City, he was a come off the bench guy, score crucial goals, right? That's a fact. And he was incredible. He scored a goal against us, right? Back in the day. But as an out-and-out player, out of position today, but an out-and-out player, for the 9 times out of 10, when he comes and plays a full match, he's maybe good for a half. And that's a reality. It's a brutal reality for us that he is not a guy who's going to do a Thierry, well, maybe Thierry may be a bit too high to call, but he's not a guy who's going to score us 30 goals, 25 goals, 20 goals. He's not going to do that for us. And that's why we need an out-and-out striker who's going to do that for us. He is good. Let's be honest. He's a great player off the bench. Like Fabio Vieira. When these people come off the bench, they're hungry. They want to do something. He'll score a goal, maybe 2, but that's about it. He's not a whole game. I think he struggles with a 90-minute, 100-minute game these days to really keep the level. Eddie, unfortunately, I have to say this. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. He reminds me of Theo Walcott, a guy who, Theo Walcott, okay, change positions, fine from winger to striker, but he's just a guy who will score once and miss 5. He's just not consistent enough.
I think as a player, I think Theo was. If you had to, if I had a choice, if he said, "Would you have Theo Walcott? Would you have Eddie Nketiah?" It would be Theo Walcott, like 10 times out of 10. But
he had the pace.
I think
Eddie doesn't.
Yeah. But I think with Eddie, you're right. He needs when he's playing in a match where he has 3 or 4 chances and he stick one away, then fine. But when he's in a situation like today where he had one big chance, you know, he's not going to do it. He's hold up play, which I thought was getting better, wasn't good today. You know, some of the touches, it was so bad. It was bouncing out, going out for corners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, he struggled against their 2 big centre backs.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they said it again. Neville said it in commentary, Steve, about the attack. You know, they just need. There's another piece missing. You know, they just need that person there, as Max said. You know, and people are obviously talking about Tony and Ferguson and Osimhen, which is never going to happen. But you're just saying that's the guy, that's the person that's missing, because we're trying to be too perfect in the box.
Yeah.
We're going out wider, we're not getting crosses in. It's all going across the face again. Easy for defenses. Or if it's a little slide rule pass, you know, and it's Saka or Ben White that runs onto it, and then, you know, someone. But yeah, what was your thoughts? Because I'll ask you the question, you know, maybe people might think it's harsh or whatever, but if Eddie wasn't playing for Arsenal, okay, let's say Eddie was playing for another team in the Premier League, would that be a player that will be identified to say, oh yeah, you should try and get him in?
No. Look, It's a simple answer, isn't it? Let's be honest. Does he?
It's like Jesus. You would, because you know that there's elements to his game and he's raised the level somewhat.
Yeah.
Even though, as Max said, he's not going to get us 20 goals a season. He'll get us 15. He got 11 last season when he missed 4 months of the season. He got 11 in total. So he may have got 15 and a bit. But I'm sorry if Eddie Nketiah is not a Champions League level.
No chance.
He's a mid. So sorry, Steve. Yeah, jump in, man.
Yeah, look, like all our Haaland boys, I like Eddie. Okay, I do like him, and he helped us out when Jesus was injured, and he helped us out when we were pushing for the top 4 places a couple of seasons ago. He came in and he scored those 2 goals against Chelsea and everything else. He's there to be a 6-yard box man. He's there to be a poacher, and the chances that he's missed so far this season, in all the games that he's played, is some of them you just go, but that should be your bread and butter. That should be where you're going, right? That's an easy one for me. I mean, even the one that you were talking about earlier, Mike, when he just hit it, he side-footed it, keeper's near post. He was never beating the keeper there. The keeper had it well covered. He had to put his laces for it. And those are the bread and butter ones that he should be going, right, either I'm levering that or I'm laying it. It's one of the two, and he did neither. And apart from that, yes, he ran around a lot today as well. He did probably more running than I've seen him do in a while. But he was not effective. And I like Jesus. I love Jesus. He's done well for us, and he helped us raise the levels, as you said, Mike. But the thing is, and this is why I said it a couple of podcasts ago, Mike. In the last one I was on, we need a striker. We need a striker, and I've said it from last season as well. We need a striker. We need somebody that is going to get us those 20+ goals a season. We need somebody that is going to be that clinical decider. Going into this season and being in the Champions League, I was almost certain that would be addressed, and I was quite surprised that it was not, because that is definitely a position that we definitely need to improve on. You look at Man United, have got that Højlund, or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
City have Haaland and Alvarez to an extent. Everybody has, like Liverpool have Darwin Núñez as well as some. They have somebody that can be their focal point. Unfortunately, both Jesus and Eddie can't be our focal point because they can't. They're not going to hold the ball up. And it's all right saying, okay, well, we signed Havertz for his height, but we're not signing him to have his back to goal. That's not how he's going to be most influential or best used, in my opinion. And I know you thought Raya had a great game, Mac. I'm going to slightly disagree. I just think his distribution today was below par. There was, and it's North London derby. I get it, but I just think we brought him in for his distribution and his calmness, and he's hitting balls up to no one really, unfortunately, and that's not his fault. But if you're there for your distribution and hitting them or pinpoint accuracy, you've got to know that both Eddie and Jesus are not winning them headers against 2 big centre halves.
Fair point.
I just it wasn't a game that was suited to his abilities, and I think to get suited to his abilities, we need a striker that is going to be physical up front. Because at Brentford he had that with Tony, for example.
He might know someone. He might have him on speed dial after tonight.
Well, can I ask a small question then? Do you think we would have lost that if Ramsdale was between the sticks?
No,
considering the man.
I don't think either goal. It's not really a keeper error or anything. The first one is you'd hope that one of those 3 defenders blocks that shot and stops the ball going in. Nothing really you can do with that one. And the second one, again, it's not much he can. There's not much he can do to save it. So I don't think it's. I'm just commenting on his distribution, because that's one of the key things that these all the media keep on talking about, and people can say, well, he's there for his distribution. Yeah, he's there for his distribution, but he's also there for his goalkeeping as well. He don't get me wrong, he's other than that, it was pretty solid. He caught balls and was
an amazing save. Amazing save. Look,
amazing save. I thought that was a goal.
That was a goal. You know, but I was saying to the missus, I mean, afterwards saying, well, Ramsdale made saves like that, you know, towards you know, he's making the world. He's done it this season against Fulham. I think he done a save which would have lost us a game. And yeah, he's done. He did that obviously at Anfield. Remember, I think he'd done a couple of saves at West Ham as well.
Yeah,
and stuff. But so yeah, that's the thing with this situation with this getting Raya in and Ramsdale. It's going to cause this have this conversation. I mean, you're slightly disagreeing, but you're going to have this all the time. You know, when someone lets in a couple of goals, or if he started passing the ball out, you know, whatever. And it's all kind of it's sort of something that's been orchestrated by Arteta bringing him in, sort of thing. And obviously, you want players to come in who are going to elevate and strengthen the team, and I think he does. But yeah, I thought he was a bit shaky today. He seemed a bit shaky. I don't know whether it was just the occasion got to him. But yeah, there were a couple of passes it was weird. He was just hitting out, and obviously it shows Eddie. I think Jesus, when he's playing up against her strike, he's more tenacious. He does battle a little bit more, and things stick to him a little bit more. Whereas Eddie, it just doesn't do that. And it seemed like a really big regression for him, because I don't know whether the fact that he didn't come on Wednesday, he didn't, you know, Champions League again, you know, Steve was saying, hey then boy, you know, he must have been dreaming of this moment, and he didn't get a minute. Maybe that just threw him a little bit, just took him out of his rhythm, because he was doing he was contributing, because we said in the last show how the squad, when they get called upon, they've been contributing, you know, even going back to just Wednesday when Nelson and ESR came on, they helped to get that goal for Odegaard, and they looked really sharp, and they played really, really well for that little cameo. You spin it onto today, and the two substitutes that come on, two of them, Havertz and Jorginho. I mean, Havertz spent more time on the ground than he did standing up, man. He was just on the floor all the time. He was losing his duels, just getting brushed off the ball really, really easy. You know, there was one bit where he went down, and the fans are on the touchline. You can see on the front 3 rows, and they're telling him to get up, because obviously we're trying to get back into the game. And it's like, you just get up and get going. And then we talk about the Jorginho part. He just looked like he had slippers on. I don't know what, and you know, it's unlike him. You know, I really unlike him to play like that. He's normally popping it around the corner really, really quickly.
With Jorginho, just a quick one. With Jorginho, almost every pass he made today was to look to go backwards, and you know, Maddison was always on him, and he could have cost us a couple of times if, you know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He's slipping back into his Chelsea ways, isn't he?
Yeah. Again, with his, and this is why I say it's important to use your substitutes and to give players minutes as much as possible, wherever possible, because really Jorginho is coming in cold.
Yeah.
Like when did he last play? You know, he's coming in cold. And yes, we brought him in for his experience, and he should be a professional and ready. And we all say those sort of things. But he's coming in cold, and Maddison just picked his pocket, because his body shape and his movement is not as quick as what it used to be. You know, we accept that, but it gets quicker when you're playing regularly, if you know what I mean. And every time I looked at him, he was like, even after that incident, he was looking to pass back, because I think that's partly to do with the movement up front from players like Eddie and whatever else. But he was always going backwards. And that's easy to pick off when you know somebody's going to be doing that, because you just anticipate when they're from their body shape, where they're going to turn, and then you go and pick them off, and that's what happened. So yeah, and Havertz, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. At one point I was going, is he actually on the pitch? Because I didn't see him. It was pointless. It was pointless. And I still, don't get me wrong, like with every Arsenal player, I want them to do well, but I don't know. I don't think we've had a good signing from Chelsea, to be perfectly honest.
No.
I can't remember a player we've got from them that's actually come and done any good. And
no.
You know, there's still time for Havertz to improve, and I hope he does. And I hope he gets better, more confidence, and everything else. But
Havertz is not a kid.
He's not.
Havertz is not a kid, and he's been in the Premier League for a few years now. It's hard for us to accept it, but I just can't see how this guy improves. How does he improve? Because You can be drilled and trained, but this is a guy who's an elite professional footballer. He has been for a long time. He did well in Germany. He's been terrible since he's been in the UK. He's not going to improve anyway. We've seen it. Even been dropped by Arteta. It's nice to have hope, but we have to be realists, right? Let's be real, right? He is not going to do anything for us, which is going to be positive. He might be good in certain games, but he's going to be one of those guys who's not consistent in any shape or form. It's not going to happen. And we have to swallow that. Now, would he get sold next summer? I don't know. But I think reality, let's be realistic, right? Havertz is not, he's not our type of player, and he's not changing in any way. If he was a 19-year-old, then okay, fine. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, give him a couple of years. But we haven't got time for that. We want to win the league. We obviously can't win the league this year. I don't think we're going to win the league. I think Man City are going to win it quite straightforwardly. But we want to be set up for next year to build on. We want to buy some decent people in January and so on and so forth. But Havertz is not the man. He's like a Mudryk. We fought for 80 million for. Dodged the bullet there, didn't we? But it's exactly that. My friend was at the Chelsea game, came all the way from Scotland, and he said Mudryk, and we know this already. Mudryk is not fit for purpose in the Premier League, and it's the same, unfortunately, with Havertz. Pay 65 million. We lost 79 for Pepe. We're going to have to lose the 65 and get some small money from some German club for Havertz. But he's not good enough.
Yeah, I kind of think, I agree, mate. I kind of, you want to give him time, obviously, as Steve said, you want to give him time. He's an Arsenal player, you want to support him, everything. But if not showing any elements of, or green shoots, or that they're amalgamating into the team and they're improving the team, he's not improving the team. You know, so you don't bring players in to make us regress, and I think that's kind of what we have a little bit in terms of the way we function. Because it's almost like what Xhaka used to do. He would have brought so much more. He's brought so much more to the table in that position than Havertz, which is crazy to kind of think about and say. But I think I kind of said at the time, I think the Havertz signing is an ego signing for Arteta. It's a signing he's made because he's kind of, I wouldn't say comfortable, but it's kind of something that he's been given the green light for because of what he's done, and he's overshot. He's overshot what the aspirations were in place by KSC and what have you. And they said, okay, we trust you because of what you've done. You trust you. You can get this guy. And it's like you're trying to mold this guy into a left-sided attacking midfielder where he's not played before. He's played on the right side, but he's not playing on that side before. And Havertz has had he's had Tuchel, Thomas Tuchel under him, and he's played in Germany. And like what are you seeing that he hasn't seen? A guy that's won the Champions League and has done bits in won trophies other places. And for me, it's like, okay, if you're going to bring him in as that striker sort of thing, as that option for us to a different type of physicality, even though there's not much really because he's so weak, but there's a different option for us to, for Raya to play those long balls and for us to go down the wing and put crosses in. But he's not even doing that. He's playing him in this position, and he's learning while he's doing it. And then you've got players like ESR and Nelson, and we know they would produce if they were in those positions. It wouldn't be a case, or Trossard, I say, even Trossard. Yeah. You put Trossard, ESR in that position, there wouldn't be, at the moment, what Havertz is 007, and they're calling him now, because he's 7 games, 0 assists, 0 goals. If I'm telling you that, if you're playing those two in that position, and you're giving them 7 games, they're getting a couple of assists, and they're getting 1 or 2 goals. And they're actually contributing, whereas Havertz isn't doing it. So I don't see what he brings to the table, unless it's something that Arteta can see, or is it just an ego thing, or flex that he wants to show? Oh, look, I did it with Xhaka. Look at what I did to him. I turned him into this type of player that everyone's raving about now. I can do the same with this guy.
See, I think with Havertz, I think I said it from the beginning of the season, which was we had Emile Smith Rowe there, And even when there was talks of us signing, I've just thought, but we've got a Emile Smith-Rowe there, who, in my opinion, had been better. And again, he's a Highland boy, and he produces for us. I couldn't see where Havertz would fit into our squad. To give him a little bit of a positive, Mike, I watched your podcast the other day with Neil, and yes, in the Champions League, he did look a bit better. So maybe that's going to be where he excels, where he gets a bit more confidence and a bit more space and time to produce in the Champions League, and then hopefully that improves his confidence. But as a Premier League player, no, he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
Yeah, we've seen it for 2 years. We've seen it for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That he's not that guy, but he's more inclined to produce in the Champions League. Obviously, we know he scored the goal that beat City and everything. But yeah, I just don't.
I mean, the group we've got, he can, like he said, I suppose you got to give him the benefit of that for that, because we've got basically a Europa League squad, right? Table. We've obviously beaten probably our toughest one, PSV. We got Lens next, and whoever else, obviously Sevilla. But this is not what he was brought in for. He wasn't brought in. We're not like in a Haaland situation where we've won the league and we need to win the Champions League. We're not in that position. So it's a ridiculous signing. But look, like you said, you have to try and stay positive. But I'm a realist, and I don't think that, like you said as well, we've got ESR. Smith-Rowe needs a run. The next 2 games, right? If Ramsdale doesn't play, we've got obviously Brentford, as obviously shown ticker. We've got Brentford, and then who have we got?
Bournemouth away.
Yeah. So we've got
and then Bournemouth away. Yeah. And then Champions League, and then City. Yeah.
So the next 2-3 games should be on paper fairly straightforward. If he doesn't let Ramsdale play, give Ray a rest. Let Ramsdale play, especially in the Carabao Cup. Come on.
Yeah.
If he doesn't let Smith-Rowe play, doesn't let Reece Nelson play, it's totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. These guys need a run out. They need to get some minutes on. I think Smith-Rowe, when he was fit, and he's not getting the time, he's incredible, especially off the bench. What a player. And we're just not using them in the way we should be. All this stuff about this, I know you're going to talk about it later, but all this bringing him on, was it 90 whatever minute? What is he doing?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
crazy. How was a guy going to influence a game? It 93, 94 minutes? It was just sheer madness.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely. Yeah, I just think that's why I said at the beginning. I just think Arteta, this game is not reflected well on him. No. Just the way the team was set up, the lineup, their focus, and I think even I've said it before. When you have in whatever sport, when you've got a coach and things are maybe not going right in the first period or the first quarter, whatever it is, the difference between elite coaches are your adjustments. What they see and what they're able to change and do in the second half, or you see it in NFL, team getting blasted in the first half, they make the adjustments and change it. They see what's wrong, and he hasn't kind of done that with consistently. He really hasn't. And
he's a young manager, to be fair. Let's give him the benefit of that. He's a young manager, but
I
agree with what you're saying.
How long are we going to keep saying that he's a young manager though? Because he makes reference to it in the press conference even now. And we get it. But you spent 210 million in the summer. Yeah. All right, you've got injuries to Timber, which is a massive one. Yeah. But then you've got someone else in who's one of your big ones, Havertz. He's not added anything to it. We know Rice has, but he's injured. So that's another thing that we need to be worried about. Again, the whole injury situation. What the hell is going on with all these injuries that we're picking up? Trossard as well. It's crazy. But I just think he needs to be able to have more of an impact on these, when things are maybe going away and making these adjustments, and it's not happening. And we saw he said it with what did he say the other day with the keepers? He saw 2 instances where he wished he had the bravery to take a keeper off and put another keeper on. So what's that about? You know, it's just
smoke and mirrors that though.
Yeah, it's again, even with that is again, we talked about it in our last podcast, Mike, and I said, yeah, we need to get somebody in the middle as well. It's all right having Rice there, but you know, if he gets injured, and you know, unfortunately he has. Hopefully they got him off in time, and he's able to recover, because he's going to be a huge miss. He's
massive.
He's a massive player. He's been a massive player for us, and
if he misses the next 2 games, though, we should be okay. Shouldn't we? Brentford and Bournemouth, we should have enough to get through those without Rice, surely.
Maybe Lons as well to a certain extent, but they'll be up for it, obviously. But yeah, you're right. I mean, again, the European game away, you know, Jorginho might be able to, you know, manage that game, you know, well if he's not got his slippers on like he had today. But
we miss Xhaka, right? We miss Xhaka, and we miss Xhaka and Partey in the middle. Fine, obviously Rice is coming for Xhaka, but I just wish we could have kept him just for one more season. I know he was a little bit off the pace because he's obviously getting a bit older towards the end of last season, but he just the talking and the pulling everyone together. He always did the team. Remember when they was in the middle? He was the one shouting and screaming. Even if he played even half the games or even 10 games, just him in the dressing room, I just think the kind of nonsense that was going on in that first half, you know, he would have torn them a new one. It's a shame, but what you can't crab a spilt milk, right?
But yeah, we could talk about obviously this today's game for a while, but we'll look ahead briefly to the next game. Obviously, as we said in the League Cup, we've got Brentford, and you touched on it earlier, Matt. But I'll go to Steve. We've got Rice is going to be injured. Rice is injured, so he obviously won't feature. Trossard is out. Martinelli is out. Partey is out. Timber, we know he's out for a while. You know, that's 5 big injuries. What does the rotation look like for Wednesday now? You know, is he going to be loading up with kids? You know, you talk about so Walters maybe, or does he have to?
There'll be wholesale changes. He knows what the priorities are. Okay, and no manager will ever admit it. Arsene did. Arsene was just like, you know, the League Cup is not one of my priorities. You know? and he dealt with the repercussions for it. But he was Arteta won't publicly say it because he wants to win every single game. Of course he does. But there'll be changes. We'll see a number of changes. We'll see Emile Smith-Rowe play and start. We'll see Nelson play and start. We'll see Jorginho will have to play because he needs to get up to speed in terms of game minutes and stuff like that. I don't think he'll play the full game, but he'll definitely play. We will see Ramsdale back between the sticks. But I do think Raya will retain his place in the league, in the Champions League for now. You know, that's, like I said, poor distribution today doesn't take away the fact that he didn't have a good game. I said just poor distribution. It's good to see how he can be tested. Up front is where we then start scratching our heads a little bit because Jesus shouldn't play that game. Eddie probably will play that game. But then we're looking at, I don't know who else is going to play up front. If you see what I mean, unless he wants to put Havertz up there. And again, it's you're chopping and changing his positions all the time when you just really want him to play one position and get comfortable and settle in it. So yeah, we'll see a number of changes in that Brentford game, and hopefully we see a couple of the kids as well. It'd be good to see some of these guys get some minutes, and you know, whether it's off the bench or even starting.
Yeah. With Brentford, we got to remember, they're in trouble, so they shouldn't play a strong team either. I know that we're not really as bothered about the Carabao Cup, but obviously without their star man and his issues, I don't think they'll play a strong team either. They definitely
they got turned over yesterday, didn't they? They got turned. Was it 3-1? Wasn't it? That's a big result.
They must be kind of getting a bit jitterish about the fact that the league obviously is their priority is to stay up.
Yeah. I think it'd be probably mix and match for both sides. I can't see Jesus starting. He'd probably be on the bench. Looks like Saka picked up a knock as well, which we saw limping that caused. So that could be another not the one out, obviously. So yeah, he's got a lot of things to think about. But I definitely could see Eddie playing, Havertz playing as well. Maybe again to trying to get his confidence up. And people like Tommy Asu and stuff coming in as well. Maybe on El Neni was on the bench today as well, I think. So he hasn't featured. So I'm sure he'll play there and see what he does. But it's going to be interesting. You know, all of a sudden the squad that we had, the squad depth, which looks so strong, all of a sudden it's getting stretched. You know, every game it looks like we're losing someone, or pre-game we're losing someone. Well, you've got to remember Cedric as well is probably going to start. Don't know how that guy's still there, which is amazing. But he's probably going to start right back because I'm sure he's not going to play Ben White in that one.
No, we said the back line. We'll see Kiwior. We'll see Tommy. We'll see Cedric. Maybe you might see one of the young kids at left back. Waters. Is it Waters?
Waters, big guy.
Yeah, stick him at left back. Give him a run out.
Good to see Nanweri and Koza Dubry as well. So he's going to be interesting. Probably go to penalties and something like that. And
well, one thing is quickly circling back to the game. I just want to say that I mean, we kind of slightly touched it. We were lucky not to lose it.
Yeah.
And I think we have to take that away, no matter what. Now, I'll give you a quick funny story. My friend, he was at the game, half time. He saw what was happening, put a bet on 2-2, and he. This is a guy, one of our people. But he could feel it in the water. He could see what was happening. And he obviously got payday. But easily we could have lost that 3-4-2. The way that they were playing at the end, and then all this chopping and changing we were doing, it was. For me, like I said to you as well, Mike, that it's a non-negotiable for me for us to lose at home to our old enemy, and we didn't lose, so we must. And it's early in the season, so we must take away. That wasn't something that meant that we didn't get fourth, we didn't, whatever, win the league. It was a game at the start of the season. So thank the Lord we didn't lose it, because it would have been a painful, horrible, just everything wrong with the week. It would have taken a couple of weeks to get over. So
it would have set everything off now, because like you said, last season was just so so amazing at what we did, and then to get everyone's trying to see if there's going to be any similarities. We're points, we're behind, we're schedule. Look where we are. We were kind of top at this stage, but we're fifth or wherever it is we are.
Still unbeaten though.
Yeah, still unbeaten, but a long way to go. But you just kind of worry if a defeat today would have been massive.
You know what? Just to touch on that. I'm like you. It's like losing to them at home is. It's not often we see it, so it's not something that I could ever get used to. But even if we did lose, the question would always be, then how do we respond? And in fairness to our team and to our manager, we've responded well after losses. We've as funny as it sounds, sometimes a loss refocuses everybody and just gets everybody just to go, okay, look, we need to stop messing around there. Because when you're winning and you're playing well and you're trying little things and they're coming off, and then you get confident, you get overconfident, you take more risks, and it's good to take risks, especially with the type of football that we play. But sometimes, not all the time, sometimes a loss can just make people, it's like somebody will go back into the dressing room and get a slap from the manager and he'll just go, never again, guys, never again. And then, people are just like, okay, we can't lose again. And then, we go on a long run of winning. Today, that'll be our Arteta in the dressing room. He'll be going, guys, no.
Yeah.
That's not happening. And he did. In fairness to him, he did try to make changes at halftime. They were just the wrong ones, and everybody knew it.
Yeah, he said the Vieira one wasn't an injury; it was tactical, and obviously the Rice one was an injury. But what they say, I mean, sometimes wins, when you do win, it does paper over the cracks, right? We all know that, and some people say that when you don't you lose, you learn, or we didn't lose, but I mean, obviously, a draw today feels like it almost like it to them, because obviously they go away happy and stuff, thinking that they've not been beaten. But yeah, the other thing we've got to take into account is the injuries, because obviously if we keep picking up these injuries, it's going to be hard for us to bounce back in a strong kind of way, because heaven forbid if Saka's out as well now, because he didn't look happy when he came off and he got that knock. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting lead up now to that City game, which we all kind of were confident yesterday when Rodri was doing his Undertaker business with trying to strangle Gibbs White, and and obviously he's missing that game, and would have been interesting to go into that game with no Kevin De Bruyne, no Rodri.
Yeah,
now
I'll take a draw now, though.
Yeah,
I'll take a draw all day long.
Keep it moving.
The way they smashed us last year.
Keep it moving. Yes. Psychologically, it wouldn't be fantastic, but just not to lose would be good to keep it moving, because we lost to them twice, didn't we? That was a 6-point swing. But then you look at the games where we dropped points, and you're thinking, well, if we didn't drop points in those games, it may not have mattered. Though, that's how it happens. But we've got that to look forward to.
A positive. Saliba, come on! You see that that move when he just sort of, I think Maddison was trying to close him down, and he just got away from Saliba.
Rolls Royce. I mean,
he's unbelievable.
He's just
reminds me of me when I was that age.
Can I just put something out there? This is for us in a few months' time. And remember, I said this. I think on the away game we will win. I think we'll learn from this, all the mistakes we made. This guy's not going to change his tactics.
No.
Yeah. But we will. We will be very different the next time round. And I'll come back on when we play them. And I'll tell you now. I'll remind you all.
Beat them at the lane. I'm confident.
I think so. I think we'll beat them at whatever their stadium is called. I think we'll be a completely different outfit by that time. We've got the video. We know where we've made the mistakes, and obviously their people will be probably fit. We won't allow Son to do what he did. It's those like he talked, fine tuning those tweaks that will make the difference. So that's how I think. I think we'll beat them away.
Yeah. So fingers crossed. Let's hope so. It's a bit down the line, but hopefully by then we'll be in a healthier position in the league. Obviously only 6 games in, but we just need to bounce back or next weekend against Bournemouth, and all roads lead to that Man City clash before the next international break. So we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for the support, for watching on YouTube, for downloading on all the podcast platforms that we're on, Acast, Anchor, and Spotify. I really do appreciate the support. The numbers are really good for the shows, and thanks for Steve, to you, Steve, for your time as always, and thanks to you, Mac, as well, for your input today. Great debut. I think unlike Havertz, we don't know what you kind of bring. We know what you brought to it, and it's great insight. So straight away, so I think Mikel needs to send this to Mikel and say, look, here you go. This is how it's done. He doesn't need any time for adjustment. He's just gone straight in. But so fantastic stuff. Thank you very much. We'll love to have you back on again.
Thank you.
We'll be back on again soon. This will be out as soon as I can get it out, and there won't be a show after the Brentford game. I need a rest, so I'll be back after the Bournemouth match. Hopefully we'll be talking about 3 points and back on it. So thanks for listening, gentlemen. Have a great week to come. Obviously Monday tomorrow.
You too.
And all that's left to say is, come on, you Gunners.
Remember, Giroud into the box, and they have immediately.